10 uneducated YouTubers and the BS lies they tell themselves. Here's our list, and believe me, there are way more than 10. These are just the first 10 that I grabbed and just thought of off the top of my head. Gordon Ramsay, Pyrocynical, Daz Games, annaoop, Ethan Trace, John Robert Bell, Poncho Oompaville, Rally Link 14, D'Angelo Wallace. Let's look at these logical fallacies that they engage in. But first, before we do that, let's sing a little French song. Here are the lyrics. Ready? Ne me demandez pas pourquoi je suis vegan. Demandez-vous pourquoi vous ne l'êtes pas. Now that means, don't ask me why I'm vegan. Ask yourself why you are not. Use your brain, use your heart, and stop making up crazy excuses. Now let's look again at what are these fallacies. Here we go. Logical fallacies. Those logical gaps that invalidate arguments aren't always easy to spot. While some come in the form of loud, glaring inconsistencies, others can easily fly under the radar, sneaking into everyday meetings and conversations undetected. Having an understanding of these basic logical fallacies can help you more confidently parse the arguments and claims you participate in and witness on a daily basis, separating fact from sharply dressed fiction. All right, let's have a look. So if you want more information, by the way, go to Carnism Debunked. This is where I got this list from. This is a great site for any time you are looking for arguments and you want more information about veganism. Carnism Debunked. Let's look at a few. Ad hominem. Attacking the arguer rather than the argument. Example. You're a self-righteous vegan asshole. Fuck off and let me eat what I want. All right, well, this is a perfect example of what somebody like Ethan Trace does. He doesn't look at the argument at all. He simply does an ad hominem attack. Actually, all of these guys do ad hominem attacks, personal attacks, rather than looking at their own behavior and the facts about how animals suffer. Anecdotal fallacy. Using anecdotes to form a conclusion as opposed to solid science. Example, my friend went vegan and got really sick. Veganism is unhealthy. Now we all know that that one makes no sense either, because who knows what your friend was doing? We have no idea what other substances your friend consumed, what kind of foods your friend was eating. Veganism is healthy. It is 100% healthy. Eat proper foods. Don't just go and eat chips and drink Coke. Of course you're not going to be healthy if you do that. You won't have the proper vitamins and minerals. Get a well-balanced, healthy diet, and then you will do great. All right, there are vegans in the Olympics, so we know that this fallacy just makes no sense. Anecdotal evidence is not actual scientific evidence. Appeal to consequences. Asserting that a position is false just because it is believed that the course of action that follows from that argument could lead to undesirable consequences. Example. Think of all the people who'd be put out of work in the farming industry if you got your way and everyone went vegan. Well, people have said this about every time there was a new industry. Remember when they used to sell records? And then they sold cassettes, and then they evolved to CDs, and now CDs, hardly everyone buys them. Anyone? So, things change. These farmers, these people who work to raise these animals, to rape, torture, and murder these innocent animals, will then change. They'll get jobs growing plants. That's all. And it will be much more effective. Rather than feeding the plants to the animals, which is completely inefficient, it will be much more efficient. Be logical. Don't appeal to consequences. Appeal to the dictionary. Using dictionary definitions, which are ever-changing, to argue the invalidity of a statement, as opposed to using reason. Example. The definition of murder is the act of one human being killing another human being, and someone refers to humans, not animals. Says so in the dictionary. Right. So, this is an example of what somebody like that guy, John Robert Bell, was doing. Instead of looking at the definition of what veganism is by the Vegan Society, he was going to simply Google the word vegan and would just read off what was said there. Well, that is not doing proper research. John Robert Bell, you need to pay attention to what veganism really is. In fact, all of you really don't understand that veganism is about the animals, not hurting them. Rally Link 14, for example, is somebody who says that she's vegan, but then she goes out and pays for the rape, torture, and murder of animals to feed them to her dogs, when her dog could easily eat vegan food. Oompaville is somebody who just completely refuses to look at the facts. He himself hunts and is despicable, rather than looking at the facts and realizing that he can easily be vegan. He has plenty of money, lives near a store, and is completely healthy. D'Angelo Wallace, on his site, he actually sells different meals. He sells the dead bodies of animals. And Poncho, well, he's just one of these ignorant people who plays video games all the time and doesn't actually care one iota about the animals. Annaoop is somebody who also spends her time just wasting her time, gossiping on her channel, and attacking me out of the blue, same as Daz Games. And Pyrocynical, he is another person who did a video about me. And out of all of these, actually, Pyrocynical, I have to say, did actually make a couple of good points. And he actually proved that Tommy Innit didn't even really know who I was. And, apparently I was kicked off of TikTok. Maybe because of the things that I said about Tommy Innit. And Tommy Innit had no idea what was even going on. He is a young man, Tommy Innit, who is in college, and I made a joke about he should eat his fruits and vegetables, and everyone just freaked out. And this guy Ethan Trace was really weird about it. He said that he immediately started to think of Tommy Innit's private parts when I just told Tommy Innit to eat some fruits and veggies. I mean, this is just a list of insane people right here that you're looking at. Of course, Gordon Ramsay, he is just somebody who has been murdering animals and encouraging their murder for years. Now, again, this is just a tiny list. There are many, many more. So these people need to learn. They need to learn what the logical fallacies are, and they need to stop attacking, stop ad hominem attacks. Look in the mirror at your own behavior, learn the evidence, and just stop these ridiculous things which are completely unscientific. Right. Here's another one. Appeal to emotion, where an argument is made due to the manipulation of emotions rather than the use of valid reasoning. Example, my grandma's dying. I've got a lot on my mind at the moment, yet you want to sit here and criticize me for quitting veganism as if that's my number one concern right now. Have some sympathy. Right. Because the fact that your grandmother dies has nothing to do with you paying for the rape, torture, and murder of innocent animals. Your grandmother can die, and you can take care of her, and at the same time, eat some tofu instead of buying the dead flesh of someone who begged for their life, screaming in agony. This just makes no sense. This is just a way to get out of doing the right thing. Appeal to false authority, where an assertion is deemed true because of the position of authority of a person asserting it, even though that person is in no more a credible position to assert it than the person they're arguing with. Example, my doctor told me I need to eat meat for iron. I think I'm going to listen to a doctor over some whiny vegan. Well, many doctors used to prescribe and tell people to smoke cigarettes, said that will help relax you. And why was that? Even when it started to be proven that cigarettes cause cancer, a lot of these doctors didn't say, hey, you better stop smoking, because they themselves were smoking. I mean, doctors are not gods. Doctors are human. They have faults just like anyone else. If your doctor is telling you that you need meat, you need to get another doctor. Find a vegan doctor, because your doctor doesn't know what he or she is talking about. Many vegans are 100% healthy and even in the Olympics. Now, I've been vegan for 5 years, and in fact, my iron is perfectly good, even though it wasn't good before I was vegan. I just learned how to eat properly, and now I'm doing great. Appeal to fear, a type of argument that is argued based on scaremongering as opposed to valid reasoning. Example, if you go vegan, your hair will fall out, and your bones will break, and you'll be really pale and get really sick, and you'll feel really weak. You'll get loads of nutritional deficiencies. Well, appeal to fear. This is exactly the type of thing that many of these other people on the list have said and done. You have no reason to believe this type of arguing. It's like the arguing of a 10-year-old based on zero science. How many millions of vegans are there in the world? They're not all wearing wigs. Their hair hasn't all fallen out. And they're not all walking around in crutches because their bones have broken. This is absolutely ridiculous. Don't listen to arguments that are not based on science. This is all just crap. This is all just a bunch of gossip. Appeal to legality, arguing that something is morally acceptable just because it's legal. Well, it's not illegal to eat meat. You can't say things like rape and slavery and murder are as bad as animal agriculture. Those things are illegal. Well, there are lots of things that used to be illegal. That used to be legal, like having slaves used to be legal, but that didn't make it right. The LGBTQ didn't have the right to marry before. That didn't make it right. Women didn't have the right to vote. That didn't make it right. There were all kinds of laws that made no sense. We need to evolve with the times, open our hearts and our minds, and to be vegan. Appeal to nature, arguing that because something is natural or biological, that it is morally acceptable. Example, lions eat other animals in nature. It's the food chain. And we're omnivores. Look at our teeth. So it's morally acceptable to eat meat. This one always cracks me up. Sometimes lions eat their own young. We shouldn't follow nature as an example. Lions also greet each other and sniff each other's bums. Do we do that? No. And look at our teeth. Our teeth look nothing like a lion's teeth. Lions don't have moral agency. We do. We can make the right ethical choice. So it's our responsibility to do so. An appeal to pleasure, arguing that something is morally justifiable because it feels good to the arguer. Example, yeah, but meat tastes good. Yeah. You know what? Some people might say, well, rape feels good, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. That doesn't make any sense. We all know that's wrong. You can't base something just on what you feel like doing when there are victims involved. Come on, people, you know that. Appeal to popularity, arguing that something is right just because the majority agree with it. Example, most people eat meat. Most people would agree with me that it's okay to farm animals for food. Veganism is bullshit. Hardly anyone cares. All right. So again, don't appeal to popularity. Just because the majority of people do something doesn't make it right. The majority of people used to have slaves. That didn't make it right. Think logically and feel with your heart. Appeal to poverty. Supporting a conclusion because an arguer of it is financially poor. Example, my friend lives in a food desert and says it's too hard to be vegan. It's easy for you to say veganism is easy when you're so privileged. I'll trust my friend over your white privileged ass. Well, this is not an argument either. Many of the poorest people in the world are vegan. And some of them are even in the Olympics because they run and they exercise and they eat just the most basic things. They eat beans and lentils and chickpeas. And they are able to thrive. They play soccer. They climb. They are amazing. They're very thin, some of them. And, some of them are just don't even realize that they're missing anything because they're not. They're doing fine. So they don't even think to themselves, oh, I'm poor. They just eat all these wonderful meals. Like many people from Mexico, for example, eat very cheap and very simple meals, such as beans and rice and chickpeas and whatever vegetable is ready and in season where they are. Potatoes are cheap and carrots, all of these kinds of things. Appeal to ridicule. An argument is made by presenting the opponent's argument in a way that makes it appear ridiculous. Example, yeah, let me guess. So you just want us to subsist on air. We should all just become breatharians. That way, you vegans will get your dream and we won't harm anyone at all. Yeah, right. That does not make any sense also. Just crazy. Appeal to tradition. A fallacy where the arguer asserts that something is acceptable to do because it's been done for a long period of time. Example, humans have been eating meat for thousands of years. Again, lots of times people have done all kinds of things over the years. It doesn't make it right. Appeal to wealth, opposite of the appeal to poverty, and instead supporting the conclusion because one is in a financially wealthy position. Example, you vegans are just a bunch of broke bums. Stop protesting, go get a job like the rest of meat-eating society. Your cause is bullshit. So yeah, some of them appeal to poverty, some people appeal to wealth, and neither one of these makes any sense. You're not talking about the issue. We're talking about the animals and saving them. And these are personal attacks. Association fallacy, arguing that because two things share something in common, they must be the same. Example, a vegan was rude to me once, so I hate vegans and I won't be going vegan, which is exactly what many people say to me all the time and many other vegans. And that's just like saying, well, a black person was mean to me once, therefore I'm just going to be racist and mean to all black people. That makes zero sense. Or to the LGBTQ community. Come on, people. Don't use the association fallacy. Cherry picking, pointing out small cases of data that support an argument while ignoring the vast swathes of data that counter it. Example, forcing your kids onto a vegan diet is child abuse. Didn't you see that story recently about the couple who were jailed because they fed their baby a vegan diet and the baby died of malnutrition? Do you know how many babies die because of crazy parents in this world? Many. Yeah. Maybe these particular parents weren't feeding their child properly, but that has nothing to do with veganism. That has to do with they're just not feeding their child properly. Feed your children the proper nutrients. Veggies, fruits, nuts, seeds, pastas, grains, legumes, healthy foods, whole foods. Just make sure you have a large variety. Follow the guidelines, and everything will be fine. Descriptive argument. Simply describing something for what it is deemed to be, as opposed to addressing why it's morally wrong to do something. Example, why pigs but not dogs? Simple, a dog is a pet, a pig is food. Don't you vegans get that? How many times have we heard that one? Exactly. Don't use descriptive arguments. These are fallacies. Existential fallacy, arguing something is okay to do to someone simply because they wouldn't have been born if they weren't brought into the world for that purpose. Example, farm animals are bred for that purpose. So you'd rather we just didn't farm them and they didn't exist at all? We give them life. Well, no, you give them a shit life is what you do. You give them a terrible life. You make them suffer. It might just be better to not be born at all than to live an entire life in pain and suffering in dark sheds. Baby boy chicks in the industry are born and murdered at 1 day old. What kind of a life is that? They're murdered because they'll never be able to lay eggs. And the cows, the baby boys there are murdered also, the calves. That's not right. They're murdered so we can steal their milk? What kind of a life is that? It would have been better if they'd never had a life than to have a life of being ripped away from their mothers and sad the entire time before being murdered and dying in fear and pain. Fallacy of relative privation or appeal to other problems, dismissing the argument just because other things are going on in the world as if that's relevant. Example, there are people dying in Syria and you want to stand here telling people to be vegan? There are other issues in the world we need to be focusing on right now. Well, you can also help the people in Syria at the same time as not paying for the rape, torture, and murder of animals here. There's no reason why you can't do both. Now, as you can see, the list goes on, but I'm going to stop here at the 20 fallacy number here, because I think that you really understand at this point, and you can review this at any time, by the way. Review this list. Definitely get in contact with the people on this list here and tell them that That Vegan Teacher says that they should stop being silly, stop their BS lies, and become vegan from now on. There's no reason why all of these people who have a head on their shoulders and a brain inside their skulls can't be vegan. They all live close to grocery stores. They all can be compassionate, and they can change. And so can all of you. If you haven't yet subscribed to this channel, do you see the subscription button? Press that. You see the notification button? Tap on that. and join me. And let's see, who wants to take a bet? Which one of these 10 will become vegan first? Which one of them is smart enough, the smartest, and brave enough, the bravest to become vegan? I don't know. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Coming up on the screen are going to be some other videos. Click on them. Be curious. Look around that Vegan Teacher's site. There's all kinds of crazy videos and fun videos and serious videos. Yeah, sometimes I cry and sometimes I sing and I do all kinds of things. I just do whatever comes naturally. I just want to have a vegan world. Thanks for being here, everyone. See you all in the next video. Bye for now. Ne me demandez pas pourquoi je suis végane. Demandez-vous pourquoi vous ne l'êtes pas.